There are just some general trends that are affecting multiple lines of business, including general liability, excess liability, auto, workers' compensation. Well, for general liability, we have an issue called social inflation. We're seeing numerous nuclear verdicts coming through, really high punitive damages for what seems to be not such an egregious act. We've also seen litigation funding where private equity money is used to fund the litigation of claims that wouldn't have gone to trial because it just didn't make economic sense. So that's putting upward pressure on general liability pricing as these verdicts start to come to trial. So things that happened pre-COVID that might have gone to trial in a year or two are now going to trial 4 or 5 years later. And it's putting upward pressure on reserves that impacts financial results for insurance carriers. So they are now having to price and fund for that backlog in their terms as well. Now, on the auto side, we've got the same litigation pressures, but there's also been, as we've all heard, supply chain issues. And while that seems to be resolving somewhat, there's still a little bit of a backlog and it's still very choppy. There's a lot going on in the world. So that has an impact on auto repairs, auto prices, that kind of thing. We also see that autos themselves are just more expensive. They have cameras and sensors and bells and whistles that make them very expensive to repair. And even with electric vehicles, because of some supply chain issues too, it makes them much more likely to be a total loss. So there's a lot of things putting up with pricing pressure on auto as well. In a lot of states, a lot of areas, insurance now has become unaffordable or unavailable. State funds are the last resort insurers. That's what they're intended to be, but they're becoming the insurer because there's no other markets, or the markets are there, have quadrupled their premiums, for example, or tightened their insurance guidelines so much that people can't afford the insurance or they can't meet the terms. That will be interesting to see. There'll have to be a balancing act between insurance departments and regulations and carriers and where they can be profitable. So those things are all we anticipate will impact insurance in the future, but only time will tell.